you are doing well and keeping safe. Today I wanted to share with you some thoughts on how does it feel to complete 11 years in the business, and not just any business, in the open source space. I think it is important to also note how we have contributed to make an impact of open source in the region in last 11 years. Let me take you back to 2009 and give you a sense of what was the state of open source adoption in the region. In 2009, we all know the economic scenario was not great. On top of it, for the open source technologies, it was not an easy time. There were big forces that were opposing open source, and Red Hat was the only big organization that was creating some impact. But obviously there were so many other open source technologies that had come up and were required by the organizations, required by the customers. But these open source technologies and these companies were all based in the US. They were not ready to come to Southeast Asia or make investment in Southeast Asia. Of course, they wanted the customers, they wanted to expand, and everybody wants the new source of revenue. But coming here in Southeast Asia and doing business was not easy. Number one was the environment, the lack of confidence or lack of adoption of open source technologies. And to make that thing happen, there was a lot of heavy lifting that was required to be done, and Red Hat was the only company that was doing at that point of time. Also, on top of it, what you require otherwise in the market is a good local partner ecosystem. The local partner ecosystem was traditional, was centered around typical distributor and reseller, or maybe 2-tier or 3-tier environment, and which was primarily created, or which was primarily ready to cater to the pull from the customers. If customers demand, yes, the resellers and the distributors were ready to fulfill that. Whereas open source required creating that pull. That means it going out in the market and doing what we call it as AAA cycle. Create awareness, create appreciation, and then create adoption. That required a good amount of investment, it requires a lot of patience, and most importantly, it requires a completely different mindset, which we knew that having set up the whole business in India with Red Hat, we had that idea what it takes to make these open source technologies work or create the adoption cycle, reach up to that. But local partner ecosystem was not ready for that matter. So that means the only other alternative available for the other open source technology companies was to come and have direct presence. That means do that heavy lifting. But considering the environment, lack of adoption, lack of developer community, lack of vibrancy, it means a heavy investment. It means a long-term investment. And that time nobody was ready for that kind of view. So this is the scenario in 2009. Fast forward today, what do we see? Today, almost every large open source technology company has its presence in the region, has large manpower, offices here. We see there is a great vibrancy in the partner ecosystem. We see great amount of development happening. There are developers, there are communities who are contributing to these open source technologies. And what to talk about customers? The local large enterprises have become the global case studies for many organizations for their adoption of those technologies, for their adoption of critical business workloads for those technologies. So you see great happy picture today, and that is why everybody is very upbeat. People are organizations, the companies, the open source companies are confident of getting their returns if they invest in people, offices in this region. And customers are today calling that if it is open source technology, we want to talk to you. That's the kind of difference that we see. So what has Ashnik done? How has Ashnik contributed to this phenomena? We are very proud of our contribution. We have been out there in the market doing countless number of workshops and events. I would say at least 200 workshops, 300 workshops our team would have done, small and big, in the region. Continuously keep doing those, sowing the seeds for various open source technologies that we partner with. And our message always used to start with a lot, why open source, and then build upon it for that technology, why subscription model, what is subscription model, and things like that. We have invested a lot in creating that awareness. Today we see over 200 customers that we have enabled for various open source technologies that we have partnered with. Very happy to see that these customers are coming back to us, adopting more open source technologies, adopting them in their business critical applications. On the other hand, we have touched base with at least 40 or 50 local reseller partners and created awareness amongst them, given them the confidence that this is a business to go after, how to build business, how to interact with the customers, how to really build your long-term subscription model around open source technologies. So we see today a lot of partners, local reseller partners coming up, standing up and demanding or asking to be taken up as their partners. So this is fantastic. We have done events. We have been doing on the ground events, at least 50 large events that we would have done on our own along with the technology OEMs that we work with. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of creativity. Our teams have been really creative in going out and creating that environment in the market that customers really attain those events. We would have done over 50 proper training programs, and that has contributed to creating local skilled manpower. That is one of the key things that organizations look for, that if I am adopting this open source technology, do I have skills available? And we are very proud to say that we have contributed in creating that confidence through the training programs that we have done. And having done that, we have been also very proud partners of or key sponsors of Postgres conference in Singapore for 3 years. So likewise, we have contributed immensely making this environment happen, making this Southeast Asia and India a vibrant place for open source adoption, creating that confidence. That is what it means to be in the business for 11 years. It is not just to make revenue for ourselves, but in a true open source value, contributing to the region, contributing to the community, contributing to the customers and their success for not just adoption of open source technologies, but making businesses happen. Most of the time, these open source technologies, where they are being used, they are a critical part of the businesses. They make their business relevant. They make the businesses viable because of various factors. And we are very proud that we have contributed from our side to make that environment happen in the region. We'll continue to do so. Our teams are very excited for the next phase of the journey. We are adding more technologies. We have learned from customers. We have seen now that open source technologies have become a big number of installations have happened. We have seen what customers are asking as the next phase. We are seeing that complexity has increased. So automation, scale out, and most importantly, how do I manage my subscription life cycle? How do I manage my renewals? And how do I make my organizations work together when we adopt open source technologies? These are some of the learnings that we have gone through, and we are there to address those needs. We are coming out with some of the solutions. We are coming out with some platforms, and we will talk about that more. But today it is all about completing 11 years of journey, and what we are proud of is the contribution that we have made to make this region a successful adopter of open source technologies. Thank you for watching, and we will come back with next set of thoughts. Stay tuned, stay safe, stay healthy.